Mr. Winterhalter,
Here.
Mr. Evans,
Here.
Mr. Edwards, Ms. McGowan, Mr. Locker,
Here.
your township engineer and co-director also present.
Thank you. We'll start with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just want to make a note. If I could maybe sit somewhere else, because when I saw on the camera, I saw my bald spot pretty. Maybe be down at the other
Yeah.
end there.
You don't
want to sit here.
Yeah.
Touche.
Locker and I drew your name.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the agenda. Do anybody have any comments on the agenda?
Looks good.
Andy will note later that the fence ordinance is not going to be discussed tonight. Do we have any minutes? I didn't see any in the packet. Or did I miss them?
Saw them on the email. You missed them. Sorry.
Minutes. Okay, yeah, I didn't print the email out, so, okay. So we have minutes from June 26, 2025. Anybody have any comments or motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting of June 26, 2025.
Give a second.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Now we move on to plan review 4605 Westchester Pike.
Good evening, Matt McHugh, attorney, for the applicant. Attorney for the applicant, Sunil Desai, with me this evening.
Before you start, I was talking to Andy,
Sure.
just for the public's. So my understanding is staff, the solicitor and the applicant have all agreed that this application, the 50-foot pairing buffer is applicable.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to get that straight before we.
Mhm. Sure. Yeah, so we're here this evening for the indoor recreation facility at Marville, next to Boron. This is a project that we were before the planning commission, I believe a few months ago. We kind of kept the discussion at a high level to kind of give feedback on some of the more high level technical issues. We've since made a resubmission. We've got review letters from the various consultants and commissions and agencies from the township. I think we're in a position hopefully tonight to run through those with you and ask for a recommendation. We can give a high level overview of the project, but I think everybody's pretty familiar with it. And I can ask Rick here to start running through some of the review letters and go through the comments, if that's okay.
Okay with us.
Sure.
Good evening, Rick Stratton with Chester Valley Engineers. We resubmitted the plans about a month ago, and we received some review letters as Matt mentioned. The project proposes an indoor recreation facility. The building is about 23,000 square feet. There is surface parking proposed, and there's a patio proposed next to the building as well. This is the land development submission. There is another conditional use application. We're not really here to talk about that tonight. That application is sort of on hold. The first phase of the project is going to propose the indoor rec and the building and the parking. And then, we'll see where that takes us with the other future application. So, as I mentioned, the building's about 23,000 square feet. There's surface parking. We revised the stormwater management design to have 2 underground basins. There was some permeable pavement proposed on the last version of the plan, but new testing, soils testing has revealed a more appropriate design would be 2 underground basins. The project proposes landscaping as required per the land development regulations. We show utility connections for both water and sewer. There's sidewalk proposed along the frontage of Alice Graham Boulevard for this. The lease area for this project is about 2.5 acres. The overall property is 55 acres. The inner core of Marville, which is enveloped by Alice Graham Boulevard and Westchester Pike or Route 3. The overall tax parcel is 55 acres. Right next door to this site is the previously approved Boiron Logistics Center building. Up front on the 55-acre parcel is the Veterans Meeting Hall and the Memorial. This pad site is a 2.5-acre lease area. It's not carved out as a separate parcel. This is a lease area. And there are stormwater, erosion sediment controls, grading. All that is shown on the land development plans. So we did receive review letters from the fire marshal, from the zoning officer, from the township engineer. We also have a memo or a review from the EAC. And we did receive a review from the Delaware County Planning Commission. I've yet to see a review from the township arborist. Perhaps that got lost in the shuffle. I don't have that. We don't have that yet. But we're happy to reach out to Mr. Hosbach and hopefully that review will come soon. So I'd just like to go through some of the comment on a high level. I'm not going to go through each one. I'll just go through, the key ones that I think deserve a little bit of attention this evening. The fire marshal asked for us to identify 6-inch piping for the fire service. That's a will comply. All of the other comments in the fire marshal's review letter are about alarms, sprinkler system, alarm control panel. Those types of details will be handled at the building permit level. And we can add some notes onto our plan, which talks about these, but those designs will be part of the building permit.
Yep.
They're all will comply. Fire marshal did not have any comments on traffic circulation, which leads me to believe he's comfortable that a fire apparatus can get into the site and out of the site safely. I'll move on to the township zoning officer review dated July 14th. Couple of important comments in here. We've labeled a section on this plan, an area on this plan. We use the term future outdoor courts. And it was not our intention to ask for approval for use. We know that must come with conditional use. We're now clear on that. And what we can do is revise that label. We can call this a patio. It's going to be an impervious area that we'd like to construct now, but we understand it's not to be used for outdoor recreation until conditional use is given.
Is that the hashed area when we look at it then?
No, there is, if you look at sheet 3 of the plans, it's probably the most illustrative sheet to explain this. You see the parking on the site, and then there's 2 rectangles.
Yep.
The rectangle on the left is the proposed building. The rectangle on the right, frankly, will someday be outdoor courts. However, we'll relabel that on the plan and we'll call it a patio for now. We're not asking for approval to use that as outdoor courts, but we'd like to have it reviewed for both zoning, for impervious area coverage, and for stormwater, because we'd like to design the stormwater to account for it in the future. We don't want to have to come in and get another approval to construct that in the future. It's the use that will need conditional use. And we acknowledge that, and we'll make that more clear. And so that the township's a little more comfortable with how it's identified on the plan.
And what is that to be constructed of?
The surface itself, I think it's concrete, and then it eventually be painted and striped and surfaced for its actual future use. But at this point, we'd just like to construct the concrete.
Again, can you pinpoint where exactly it is? Maybe on.
That whole rectangle.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
this
a
one.
rectangle on the
Larger.
right. And inside this box, it says proposed impervious area for future outdoor recreation.
It's as big as the building.
It is.
If not a little bigger.
Bigger, I think it's a little bit bigger, yeah.
Yes, true.
Mhm.
That is true. Building is 23,200 square feet. The future court is 25,800. So yes, it is larger than the building.
So are you constructing it under the premise that eventually it will get approved?
Yes,
If approved by the Board of Supervisors. I mean, the concept is to show the area, it's gonna be impervious. We want to be as transparent as possible in that regard, but we recognize it's gonna have to go through that conditional use process, but it's an integral part of the project.
And if the conditional use is not approved, what will you do then?
It will be impervious. We'd have to look at a different way to accommodate it or utilize it in context with the indoor recreation, but it would not be able to be used for courts at that point. So we'd have to pivot in some fashion and figure out an accessory use to the indoor recreation.
And you design the stormwater management to handle that as well, right?
It's assuming it's already impervious, yes.
yes.
That's really the intent here, is to make sure that we're capturing the maximum impervious for stormwater design.
And from a constructability standpoint, we'd like to construct it now. Just so that a contractor wouldn't have to come back and construct it with a building right next to it later.
Dig up your parking lot again.
Yeah, yeah.
And from a timing perspective, assuming this land development plan gets approved, there's going to be, you know, a gap between approval and actual construction. It's very possible that the conditional use is more than likely going to be advanced in that gap and may even be approved, that we're looking at, you know, approvals at the same time for both.
The bat, that's fine.
So that's comment number one in the zoning officer's review. Comment number two, just a clarification that the overall tract is 55 acres. What our plan does is separate the Marville tract into 50 acres for non-logistics center and then 5 acres for logistics center. That's, in our mind, that's how we kind of broke it out and represented it here. But in discussions with the zoning officer and the property owner, we all now agree we should represent it as a total 55-acre tract and not two separate parcels, because that's not what it is. It's one large parcel. So that was our mistake in representing it as two separate parcels here. We'll clean that up on the plan.
Do you have any kind of, at least a sketch plan? What idea you or the developer have for the future of that track?
We've had lots of sketches over the years, and they're evolving every day. And if I showed you one today, it could very likely change tomorrow. So yes, there are sketches. They're not included in this set. We're not asking for approval for any of that now.
Have you had any discussions with hotels or any other offices or companies that are interested in your parcel?
I have no.
Has anyone with the owner?
We don't have anybody from the ownership tonight, but I think in discussions with them and from what they said the last time when they were here before the planning commission, is it's constantly evolving. They're continuing to have discussions with all different types of users that are permitted uses within the lifestyle village. But obviously, as those things evolve and get closer to approval, then you get commitments from actual end users in that regard.
I would speak for myself, maybe not the whole board, you know, and I appreciate all the work you're putting in. This big, huge parcel of land, is it gonna work? Is it gonna have staying power, or are we gonna have some hodgepodged 55-acre parcel? And in advocating for the residents to want to have something that's sustainable, I think a picture of what you guys are trying to do would, for me personally, I can't speak for the whole board, would really bring some comfort to us, because if I'm at the Wawa and I got smacked across the back of the head by somebody because of something we approved, you know, is there anything, can you give us some color about the what the
Look, so I-
project in
yeah,
general,
yeah.
like a master plan would be helpful. Obviously, you
I
can't do
think we
that.
heard that comment last time as well, and what I would say is, I think from the owner's perspective, they're hesitant to show something and then be accused of kind of bait and switching because market conditions change, or, you know, they don't have an actual tenant locked down who's gonna develop that. But I will say with respect to this particular project, I do think that the indoor and outdoor recreation, they look at as a catalyst to help promote and develop in a unified fashion the rest of the 55 acres. We obviously have the Boron site, but then if you add in this type of use, which I think is, whether it's residential or commercial type uses, they're going to be drawn to having that type of amenity in this area. So I think the hope is that by getting this in place, it will spur a little bit quicker of a development of the rest in some form of a unified fashion.
Since you raised that point, the hotel that was proposed a few years ago, is it still alive?
I don't have information on that.
I could tell you that there was a variance application for that hotel, and every year it's renewed. That's all I can tell you. So it's not completely dead.
So that would be one where you are in discussions with a hotel still,
I'm not in discussions. with
not you
that.
particularly,
Yeah.
but the owner group is in connection with a hotel.
Yeah, and plans have been shared, you know, over the years showing retail, restaurants, office buildings, community, performing arts centers. All those are still just ideas, so I can offer that, but I can't.
Fair, I'm just saying the hotel, you're still in discussions. You have paper that connects you.
Sure.
Okay, got it.
Rick doesn't know, but basically, yeah.
Who is
No,
the
it's not
applicant
up
here?
to
Is
me.
The applicant is just, the applicant is Mr. Desai,
The tenant.
the tenant. who's the
Newtown
ground
Square Racket and Fitness
tenant. Yes,
LLC,
mhm, yes.
as opposed to
To
the property.
for the property owner.
And you have a lease for the 2.5 acres.
We're in the process of finalizing, yeah, but there's a authorization and they're a ground tenant for this area.
Go ahead, please.
I mean,
Move on.
if we had a different engineer, we wouldn't even ask the question. There'd be no one to answer them.
Okay, so third comment talks about a 60-foot fire separation buffer for the logistics center, east facing the building wall. This is a request from the zoning officer that we show a 60-foot buffer around the Boiron building and just represent that on this plan. So we're happy to do that in a revision.
Which number is that on the?
It's
Comment
it's the
3.
fourth paragraph.
Yes, fourth paragraph. In the memorandum dated July 14th from the zoning officer. Please.
That was generated as part of the building plan review for the Boron building. So there was a design issue that came about when I was reviewing the building permit plan that required the 60-foot buffer. And because the lease line shown on that shared property, it's a lease line, it's not a property line. So they have to secure that with a dedicated buffer zone. So because the Boron plan had already been recorded, I got the building plans for review. We'd like to have that line shown on this plan for future reference.
And Rich, is that a will comply?
Yes. Yeah, I think essentially that means no other buildings will be built within 60 feet of Boiron. And our building is well beyond 60 feet from Boiron.
Okay.
Question about the outdoor recreation area.
Yeah.
We had, I think, touched on last time about outdoor lighting. And were you guys going to,
So, and yeah, that's,
was there a study for that?
so that's the impetus of sort of why the conditional use application was put on pause. When we met with staff and what they were looking to see for the outdoor was things like studies regarding lighting, noise, etc.
Right.
And so those will be handled when we go for conditional use. We'll provide the requisite studies on noise, lighting, other exterior impacts. It's not part of this particular application that's before you right now.
Yeah, this plan does not propose to light that patio area.
Okay.
The way it would be lit for courts.
Andy, is the 60 foot, I don't want to go back to it for a second, is that building to building?
Yeah, that would actually be an open public way that has to always be maintained. As long as Boron is using the building for that purpose. So it's a warehouse facility.
Yes.
It's designed under a certain type of construction. They've added what is a partial second floor. That component alone is what required a 60-foot buffer. So, and that all got worked out. I found that as I was reviewing the building permit plan, had nothing to do with the prior land development plan that was eventually recorded. So we had discussed the possibility of adding a recorded sheet to that plan, but because that became cumbersome because of all the signatures. So the attorney representing the Boron project is working that out through an agreement that will be signed and recorded, just that agreement for that project to move forward. But the reason I want it on all future land development plans is because right now, I mean, we hope that this project goes through, but right now it's in planning stages. That line should be represented on all future projects.
Okay, but if I'm correct, Rich, they're including the parking lot as part of that 60 foot.
Yeah, I think to
Is
answer
that
your
correct?
question, it's 60 feet from the Boron building, a buffer of 60 feet from the edge of the Boron building to any other structure.
That's correct.
It would be your building that you're
Which are our
proposing.
building, right,
So there's a parking lot.
which is fine. It's not a.
It's an open air
it's not an-
requirement.
Yeah, it's just no
That's right.
structures within.
The
60
parking
feet of
lot,
each other.
it's still open.
Just to clarify, it's not even the parking. I think their actual impact is the landscape buffer.
Yeah.
It's still within the landscaping on the side of the property.
Yeah.
It's not gonna have any bearing on the design.
Okay. But it's a will comply.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
Whatever is required, it's a will
Yep.
comply.
yes,
Yep.
yes. We're still waiting from a letter from the arborist. Riparian buffer, we will represent that on our grading plan. Sheet 4 of the plans is the grading and utilities plan. And this essentially shows the Boiron site and the indoor recreation site. And the riparian buffer for those two pad sites is 50 feet and will be represented that way on this sheet here, on sheet 4. There's a comment about sidewalks should be extended all the way to Alice Grimm Boulevard. We will construct a concrete sidewalk along the frontage of this parcel. And we've discussed with the township that for the remainder from the edge of this pad site, headed east all the way to Alice Grimm and Route 3, rather than construct a concrete sidewalk, because we don't know exactly what the development will be in the future. But to provide some pedestrian accessibility, we discussed proposing a sidewalk constructed with cinders. And that's, the best solution as sort of a temporary or stopgap until we know what the rest of the site.
You don't know where curb cuts are gonna be or.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so there will be a way for pedestrians to get all the way to Route 3, just not concrete the whole way.
Will you be constructing the sidewalk for the whole of your 2.5 acres or just your building frontage?
The whole 2.5 acres of, the
Of
whole
frontage.
lease area's frontage will have the sidewalk.
Okay,
Yeah, and then it will transition to cinders, so yeah, beyond the building.
okay.
Yep, good question. We'll provide, we're going to provide an analysis which proves that the parking proposed here is appropriate for this use. The township's code doesn't have a really great category for this use on a way to analyze how much parking it needs. There are other townships that do have codes kind of written around recreation use, and we're gonna demonstrate that with the table and show and give you some calculations which show that 81 spaces are appropriate.
And just to clarify on that, the 81 spaces we think are adequate for the indoor and also the outdoor should it be approved. for purposes of this application, before you were constructing all 81, just in connection with the indoor. So it's really more than enough for this part of the project. As Rick had indicated, the code really says the Board of Supervisors determines what the parking ratio is, dependent upon studies that we provide. We've been using the Lower Merion Code, which is the only recent code that has any type of updated parking ratio for these types of courts. We're using that as a guideline, but we'll provide some additional information and data to the township to help verify that.
I think Radnor also has some information if you want to check it out.
Yeah, we've looked at a couple of different ones. I don't remember if we looked at Radnor, but we'll check at that. And, we kind of used the hodgepodge to try to figure out what was the appropriate ratio.
Yeah, it's a combination of the number of courts and square footage of other areas inside the building. Which kind
And
of.
if you did not look at other townships, if you try to meet the Newtown Township code, would it require more?
So Newtown Township, what it says for indoor and outdoor recreation is we don't have a parking requirement. We're going to let you prove to us what you think the parking requirement should be. And that was the way that the Lifestyle Village was drafted. And the
And
other
then you
thing
have-
we looked at is we've talked to some traffic engineers. There's not real, like the ITE and stuff like that. They don't have a real more modern, updated version for pickleball, racket sports, that kind of stuff. It's more old school tennis country club style. So we're looking to we don't want to over park here and have additional impervious that's not necessary, but we also want to make sure we're providing adequate parking for the demand.
Yeah, you don't want to be short.
Yeah.
And all your spots are 10 feet?
Yeah, they all meet the township, yes, yeah, they all meet the township standards. Yep, 10 by 20, 24-foot wide drive aisles. Islands every 9 spots. Yep.
Have you considered the county's comment on those last 2 spaces?
We have, removal of those 2 spaces. We just feel might put us in a pinch for parking demand.
Okay, as we kind of go through this process, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that more, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Steep and very steep slopes. The site was kind of a fill site over the last 15 to 20 years. The steep slopes that are shown here are from those fill activities. We have a plan which demonstrated that. We provided that plan for Boy Run. That same plan can apply here, and we'll just demonstrate that by sharing it again. We understand we need approval for sewer capacity, and that wraps up the zoning officer's comments. I'll move on to the Pannoni review letter, the engineer's comments dated July 18th. First, just talk about the waivers for preliminary, to allow for a preliminary / final. And there's another waiver to use HDPE pipe instead of concrete. And then there's another waiver for trees. We're working very hard to reduce or eliminate that waiver altogether. And so the next version of the plan that gets submitted, that waiver may go away.
Which one, the trees?
The tree waiver, yes.
You're just looking to avoid 2 trees here, but you think that you're proposing 9 instead of 11.
Yes,
That's, it's not.
Missing 9.
we're missing 9.
Missing
Oh, you're,
9. We're gonna figure out where to put them,
Yeah,
make it happen.
yeah.
Yeah, Sunil was on a call earlier today trying to place 9 trees, so we're working towards it.
Yes.
But what is the request for the HDPE stormwater pipe? Are you planning to directional drill that instead of
No.
trenching, or?
The township's code requires concrete pipe. Typically, if stormwater pipes are not under heavy loads and high traffic areas, plastic pipe is just as effective. It kind of lasts longer, performs better, a little cheaper. It's just an overall better product. We asked for that waiver quite a bit.
And it's a standard.
Yeah, we
way
see it all the
of-
time.
Well, actually,
Same diameter and all.
actually, even in furtherance of that, so this code, this application, as we're talking about the riparian buffers and the previous ordinances, which has been accepted. That code they're being reviewed under has that requirement for the concrete over HDPE. Recent version of the stormwater ordinance actually eliminated that requirement because we were just consistently giving the waiver every application.
All the time,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but it's just, we're kind of stuck, we're like a semantics of, it's still a requirement
Yep.
of this plan.
So regarding the second waiver that you're asking about the preliminary slash final, where do you stand with the NPDS permit?
We'll need to amend the NPDS permit for the overall Marville property. We wanted some more surety on land development before we undertake that. And so I think very soon, we're gonna be working to amend the site's overall NIPD's permit.
Would it not be more productive perhaps to go first for a preliminary approval while you're dealing with the NPDS and then come back for final?
It's been our experience typically that one of the conditions of final approval is that we get a NIPD's permit. So it's upon us to get it anyways. We just like to get supervisor conditional approval.
And I don't think the NIPD's permit is not gonna change what the actual plans look like. You're still gonna have the same between preliminary and final. If you break them up, it's gonna be the same level of detail, the same information. So we think that they're in a position, at least right now, with the level of detail.
Well,
It can be handled
it's
as
a
a
different
condition.
review
Right.
board.
But the-
So you don't know what you'll get.
Yeah, the condition of approval, I think, handles that just as well to say, you gotta get this amended NIPD's permit. The plans that are in front of you are still gonna look the same regardless of, when we get that.
Yeah, the site layout should be the same. If there's a special filter to use in an inlet box, that may come out of the NIPD's review, but no substantial change to the site layout or grading from NIPD's.
Eric, do you have any outstanding issues?
Regarding the conversation on the NPDS or just in general?
Well, regarding the response to your review letter.
No, maybe if you just do you want me to, I'll just flip through and then might.
Yeah.
Or do you wanna pick the,
Have you identified all the other issues in this
We were still in the
This
process of going through
six-page
them. Yeah,
review letter? I didn't think he was finished.
yeah, I didn't think there was.
No.
I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah.
No problem.
I mean, why don't you hit the highlights?
Okay.
It sounds like we're gonna see you in a month or so. Talk about trap parking and, those kinds of things we don't have yet.
Yeah,
I was
so,
looking I think he's looking for a push, and I think what Mr. Simone was suggesting, why not ask for preliminary, and then come back and get final, but I think that
Oh,
Mr.
that's
Stratton
right.
suggested,
Yes.
Mr. Stratton suggested that he would like to have the township supervisors give both, so they can move forward, and everything would be conditioned on.
But I
multiple
misunderstood the
conditions.
comments about parking. Are you coming back to talk parking about us or?
I mean, I would
Like you're
suggest.
working on it, you're looking at codes. So when I heard the
Yeah,
dialogue,
so
I
what I
thought we're
would
gonna
say
get
is,
back.
we believe we're not anticipating changing the parking count. We think that 81 is sufficient for both phase 1 and phase 2. If the commission were to make a recommendation, make a condition on us providing documentation to the township staff that justifies that parking ratio
To their
to their
satisfaction.
satisfaction.
Okay, I just.
Mhm.
Question regarding the parking, Alice Grim Boulevard, is there a shoulder there that allows for vehicle parking on Alice Grim, or is it with?
no. No, I mean, the shoulder is wider than a normal road, or the cartway is a little wider than a normal roadway, but there's not enough room for parallel parking there. And yeah, that's not what it was designed for.
And it's not our intention is to park fully on the site.
Correct.
I just was thinking if you had events, tournaments or something there at times, you might have, a large more traffic than usual.
Yeah, and
If you have additional staff for the event.
Yeah, I think in those type of, and we'd have to look at that from an operational perspective, but rather than parking along the street, it would be, is there an arrangement with Boron if it's on a weekend where they're not utilizing all of their parking? Maybe there's some ability to use that, or the area that's the future expansion area, it's identified on the plans, it's undeveloped, that may be a possibility for future parking if needed.
Is it, back to the waivers? We move this forward, are you removing the third request, or your intent is to not have a tree waiver? And I'm just asking just to get an affirmative.
Yeah,
It's our goal to eliminate that waiver. I think we can get there. The plans have not been finalized to show every single tree yet, but discussions today are looking very positive in that light.
We actually have extra trees in a certain area. I've said, hey, we can remove those, shift other trees around and add in trees that are required. We had more evergreens than are necessary, but it's the deciduous trees that we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine. I just, and process wise, just because it's a substantial letter, do you want to hit the high points of what you think is sticky and then?
Yeah, I'll try to pare it down here. We provided a rendering with this application. There's one comment in here about percentage of windows along the facade and doors. I believe that requirement was written for the logistics center, not a rec center. That being said, there's quite a bit of windows on this facade, and you know, if we were to have to meet that requirement, I think we're more than okay.
Rich, what number is that?
Just give us the numbers on these so we can track them.
It was
I believe.
6.
Yep.
Comment 6, and then there's some italicized text. Yeah, on page 2 at the bottom, some italicized text at the bottom of comment 6. Talking about door and window calculations. That regulation was written around the logistics center. So we don't think that applies. And I've talked to the engineer about that, and you know, if we had to provide a calculation, we could. I just don't think it's a requirement here. Some of the comments in the engineer's letter are echo what was already stated in the zoning officer, so I'll skip those. The comment about bike lanes, we are providing a bike rack. The Alice Green Boulevard, as I mentioned, is wider than a normal cartway. There is adequate room for bikes to travel on that road, as they do in other roads in this township. The property owner is concerned about liability for encouraging more bike traffic than is needed if you build a bike lane. So there's a little bit of concern with that. Not to say that bikes can't use this road. We're not proposing a bike lane at this time. Now, in future development, if there's residential and there's other things here which drive that need, we're open to looking at it again, but it's not proposed as part of this application.
What number was the bike lane requirement?
Bike lanes was comment number 8.
8.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. A lot of these comments were just echoed already in the zoning review. Traffic impact study. There was a memo prepared for the Boiron site, which spoke about overall traffic. And we just need to update that memo by the traffic engineer to talk about this use and that it poses no adverse impact to the performance of existing intersections. We'll get that submitted. Stormwater comments, these are all will comply. There's nothing too concerning there for me, from my standpoint. That's all will comply. And then there's talk about all the outside agency reviews, like NIPD's permits, stormwater agreements, all those things with the normal land development. We understand those are required. We'll prepare those and execute them when the time is right. So that's really it from the engineer's review letter, unless there's other comments.
Question,
Yeah.
early on, you mentioned that, you considered, using permeable pavers and you, found out that, you would be, better with, two, I guess, infiltration beds instead?
Yeah, I mean, it really came down to maintenance.
Oh, not that there were problems with, with the soil.
Well, the soils were not great at a shallow depth. We actually found better soils deeper. So that stormwater will work more appropriately if the stormwater bed is deeper in the ground. There's better soils deeper. Sometimes you find that.
Well, it's all been graded for
It's all filter.
multiple times over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, and the permeable pavement does require some maintenance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um,
They've been moving dirt around for 20
Belmont's
years.
been done with
What
their-
kind of pavement did you consider? Permeable asphalt? or-
Yes.
Oh, not pavers.
Correct. I may have misspoke. Permeable asphalt was proposed on the
Right.
previous version. And now we're doing underground infiltration beds. You know, traditional pipe and stone to infiltrate.
So Rich, based on what you've said,
Yeah.
I see you saying two no's to the township engineer's review letter. One was, you don't think it's necessary to put the bike lanes in,
Correct?
and the other one was, you didn't think it was necessary to put the windows in.
Not that it wasn't necessary to put the windows, but we didn't think the percentage of window coverage requirement applies to recreation. That code was written for logistics center.
So that one would be an exception to compliance. I mean, you could say, I think what I heard you saying, you'll comply with just about everything but two things. I don't want to put words in your
Or
mouth.
did you say you didn't do the calculations on the
Well,
windows?
yeah, I don't even, we may even comply with the calculation.
That's
think
what I thought
Rick's
I heard
point is
was,
that-
we didn't
think
that
that we
it
need
comes
to do
under
a
the-
calculation.
Yeah, it comes under specific regulations for the logistics center. And I would say we would comply with that to the satisfaction of the township engineer. And I think when we would sit down with Eric and we review that, he hopefully would agree that it doesn't apply to the project.
Okay, let's ask Eric what
Eric,
what do you think?
overall
Well, I'm
comments?
looking,
and-
so the code section is, what is it now phrased as? It's a
A lifestyle village
lifestyle village with a,
With
logistic.
the logistics center, but I think that section might be the specific logistics
and you
center.
might be correct, but either way,
Requirement.
my understanding, I mean, let's compare it to the building next door. I believe your building has more glass in it than the
Yeah.
logistics center does, so I think even if it was applying, I don't really think there's a issue with
Yeah.
compliance. I
At the
think
end of
that comment speaks specifically towards providing the renderings for the property.
Property,
So
right.
that everyone for the building, for
Mhm.
the development, so that people, you know, when this application is being reviewed, you can see what it is. And looking at the rendering, it's a pretty substantive amount of glass. I mean, I think the whole corner of the building is glass, so.
Rendering in your file.
Yeah, there's a rendering in our file, and I have a copy here. This is one of the facades. This was submitted with the application. I think
Yeah,
a
is it-
closer look at these renderings will most certainly occur during conditional use.
That's gotta have more glass than boron.
Yeah,
That corner is,
Whole corner of the building is
that whole
glass.
corner's, that's a huge amount of glass.
If it applies, we're gonna comply. We're
You
not
just haven't
asking
done
for
the
a
measurement.
waiver.
You haven't
Yeah,
done
we
the
just haven't
calcs.
done the calc. So
Right.
I wouldn't consider an exception to the engineer's review letter.
Okay,
We'll address it to their satisfaction.
okay. What else, Eric?
Let me just see what I had flagged in here. I had flagged the conversation we already had about the amount of parking spaces. The contemplation of so as far as the sidewalk, as the letter was written, we were indicating this is a pedestrian amenity that would then draw more pedestrians in. So we had said there should be sidewalk or pedestrian connection up to Route 3. They have come forth with that request to make that a trail. That is up for you guys, if you have any input on that, and ultimately for the board, the supervisors, if they had any opinion on that, we don't necessarily take an objection to it, if it's okay with the township. And I think the only other item that you may want to speak to was my comment 12A, where it had to do with screening of electrical and trash facilities.
Oh, yeah.
Were we looking at the plan correctly? What's that in the front? And
There's a pad which will be for, there's a small concrete pad in the front of the building, in between the building and Alice Grim, which will be for a generator and transformer. And there's a comment that that should be screened. So with our revised landscaping, we'll put some small shrubs around there to screen that as best we can. You can only go so close with shrubs to some of that electrical equipment. However, we will screen that as best we can.
Where is that gonna be located?
In front of the building, there, at the northwest
Easier to see on
Corner.
page 3.
northwest
Great.
corner of the building. In between the building and Alice Grim Boulevard, there's a square labeled proposed electrical transformer and generator pad.
He's on new business.
We go to public comment, everyone? Is there any public comment? Okay,
I have a comment, I have a question about the generator. So what you talked about is a generator, right? Is there a noise issue with that generator?
The backup generator,
Yeah.
if the transformer, eco fails, generator would only be a backup.
Is there a requirement to shield it for noise?
It's gonna be facing toward,
As the township ordinance adopts.
Back here.
and it's also,
it's part of the
Towards-
transformer.
yeah, and it's.
It's part of the
towards
Eco
Alice Grim,
property,
so-
part of
Yeah,
the
I-
Eco
Mhm.
equipped.
I don't think they want to put it here because this is where they're going to have the
I think there was somebody.
No?
Somebody raised your hand?
You want?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Need you to go. No, it's fine. We'll do public. If you have a comment, you have to go to the podium, give us your name and address.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. I have a few notes here for myself. Make sure I hit all my points. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Christy. I reside both in Pennsylvania and Florida.
Christy,
The
what's your
address is
last
one of-
name?
Carosa. 2 R's, 2 Z's. I reside at 107 Longview Lane. And that's in Newtown Square. I am a public school English teacher. My family lives here. I care deeply about this community, not just because I love it, but because I've seen firsthand what happens when a town loses what makes it special. The land across from Campus Boulevard along Westchester Pike is now being prepared for development. I know it's privately owned, but private ownership does not erase public impact. A proposed 77,000 square foot pharmaceutical logistics facility or any massive commercial structure or otherwise doesn't just exist in isolation. It affects every road, every neighbor, and every inch of our quality of life. That land is part of our regional identity. It's not just unused space. It's character, it's heritage, it's the last buffer we have. That's why I'm here tonight, to voice this concern, not just to this board, but as a part of a broader effort. If required, I plan to speak before the zoning hearing board if variances are requested. These decisions affect us all and they deserve full transparency and public input. In speaking with more than dozens of residents, I found one shared sentiment. This is not what people want. Let me quote a few. We don't need another car wash or proposed food shop, just green space in between concrete. Another says it's becoming another Baltimore Pike. Someone says it breaks my heart to see what's happening today. Someone says there's too much development with lots of empty storefronts. The traffic sucks and all the development is just plain ugly. Another says this isn't progress, it's just more pavement. One says we moved here to escape this kind of overdevelopment. Now it's following us. There's no long-term vision, just short-term gain for a few. Once you put a building on open land, you never get it back, says another. Our kids deserve trees, not trucks. Another says we are not anti-growth, we are anti-sprawl. One says, how much traffic, flooding, and noise do we need before someone says this isn't sustainable? Someone said, if this were happening in the main line, there'd be outrage. Why is it acceptable here? Another says, we don't need another warehouse. We need leadership that protects what makes this place livable. Another says, our towns protect their green space. Why can't other towns protect their green spaces? Why can't we? And lastly, every time we lose land, we lose a piece of what made this town feel like home. These aren't just rants. These are taxpayers. These are long-term, long-time residents. They are the people who care about Newtown Square, not because of what can be built here, but because of what's still unbuilt. That's rare, and that's worth saving. Let me speak plainly. I live for a part of the year in South Florida, a place once known for its lush beauty. I've watched it vanish, replaced by mega developments, overrun roads, box stores, condos, and endless traffic. What once attracted people now chases them out. Florida paved its future, and now its cities are choking on it. Newtown Square is approaching the same tipping point. A perfect example of what we don't want repeated is Ellis Preserve, just a few lights up Westchester Pike. That land once held Ellis College for Girls, founded in 1922.
Are you getting to a conclusion?
Yeah. That purpose there was to educate fatherless girls. It was rooted in philanthropy and education. This is the example, right? I want to make sure that we're establishing here. It was overtaken by luxury condos and towering buildings. Apartments start at a price of nearly $1 million, so it's not affordable housing. Development moved so fast it left residents stunned. They took the preserve right out of its name. To make matters worse, the firehouse is located there, and now emergency response is complicated by added traffic congestion. It wasn't built for the community. This was built for profit. This is what happens when we let money override planning, when land is weaponized for corrupt greed. The heart of a town suffers and the ripple effects are lasting. This is not a model we want to replicate. It's a warning to sign, a warning sign to learn from. Now, yes, development creates tax revenue, but it also creates costs on our infrastructure, our air, our water, our peace. Traffic is already much worse than it was 5 years ago. I'm sure we all are aware of that.
Can you wrap it up, please?
Yes, sir. I want to speak to the board respectfully. We all understand that some things are outside of your control, but zoning, density, design approvals, and community representation are within your purview. Your choices will shape what future generations inherit or are forced to correct. Now, I am a millennial. I'm used to inheriting messes I didn't create, but I'm asking you don't add another one to the list. We don't need a warehouse with logistics. We don't need corporate sprawl. We do not need other structures here either. We need vision. And vision sometimes means saying no, not because it's easy, but because it's right.
Okay, now,
Here for a reason. Please keep the reason.
thank you. Okay, any more comments? Board? Applicant?
Eric, is this a permitted use in this location?
Indoor recreation is a permitted use in this zoning district, yes.
Okay, so what they're proposing is allowed for that zone.
It is.
Want to make a motion?
Yeah, I will. Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve or recommend the approval of the requested preliminary and final land development approval, which is being presented on behalf of I have them here, Newtown Square Racket and Fitness Center LLC. I do note that there is a little difference in the total square footage. It seems like the review letters are talking about 24,576, and you repeatedly indicated around 23,000. Now, that doesn't make a great deal of difference to me, but I think we should know what it is, and I'm sure the final plans will provide for it. I'm not
Yes.
greatly concerned, but I did want to make that note. Bottom line, I will make a motion to approve the preliminary and final land development approval for this project, conditioned, of course, upon the fire marshal's letter specifically requiring the 6-foot pipe feed for the fire system service. Also compliance with the code officer's comments letter dated July 14, 2025, specifically including the riparian buffer will be 50 feet, and also the construction of the sidewalk in front of the entire leased property area adjoining the street. And further conditioned on compliance with the items identified in the township engineer's letter dated July 18, 2025. I believe that we've resolved the window issue, or at least it'll shake itself out. And I believe that the condition with regard to the bike lanes really more pertain to the area approaching the entire 55 acres as opposed to directly there, other than maybe the bike parking. So I don't think that that's an impediment or an obstacle for this approval, but based on those conditions, I will move for, we are recommending that approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time this evening.
Thank you.
And then we'll see the outdoor porch and conditional use so sometime in the fall.
So it's already been filed, it's pending.
Yeah, we have it on our. I don't know
Yeah,
if you saw,
and
I'm just kind of reconfirming.
Yeah, it'll be within the next couple months. We've got to work on some additional studies before we kind of move that forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll just, again, the draft fence ordinance wasn't ready, so we'll not be discussing that tonight. And then the next section, staff is making a concerted, as we get more sort of projects in different phases that are taking some time, staff is trying to be sure that we keep our notices and letters regarding when we have deadlines up to date and as a public document that we can review. And, and we can make sure we get updates ahead of time if things are dragging out. We don't want to have a deemed approved scenario where the clock ran out on us.
Agreed. I think that's important.
So that's a really good addition from Andy. Thank you, Andy.
Changes we've had in staff, I want to make sure that we don't miss these dates and these dates are constantly pushed. So we just want a mechanism that we can track it fairly for both the applicant and plan commission. So we don't miss.
It's important because it's required under the MPC, Municipalities Planning Code. I will not be here on the 28th of August,
Okay.
but I let you know in advance.
Hope it's fun.
I'll be in Chicago.
So, any other comments or a motion to
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Next.